Bueno, bien, hola a todos. Vamos a comenzar la clase. Muy bien, bienvenido. Welcome. By the way, today we're going to be looking at a lot of etymology, like I like doing. Let's take a look at that word, right? Welcome, right? Well, right, is the adverb well with two L's, right? Bien. And come is the participle of the verb to come, right? In this case, it will be in Spanish, right? Since it's ado and ido, it's going to be venido. So bienvenido, that's welcome if you're talking to one person who is male, right? Otherwise, for a group of people, regardless of the gender, you would put os, right? So bienvenidos, welcome. As always, can you guys hear me? Let me know in the chat. I think you guys can. Bien. And let me know where you're calling in from. See? Hola desde Atlanta. Bien. So let me know in the chat where you're calling in from. And as I always say, try to turn off all the distractions if you can. I know it's tricky. And speaking of Twitch, let's see, that's probably one of you guys. Let me see here. I'm going to set on do not disturb. Reminder for the teacher as well. See, that way you can stay focused, and then after the lesson you can deal with whatever is going on. That's of course if you can. See, because what you're about to learn is the same. You're going to learn from the same instructor, but the same methods used by executives from all of these companies and many others. That's, I believe, an old graphic anyway, but you guys know who I've worked with, right? And it's all of the stuff, the same methods that are included in the course Spanish Hacks for Conversation. See, which teaches you vocabulary of over 20,000 words in under 60 days, and we actually cut that down to under 14 days. See, so in 2 weeks you can know more than double the vocabulary that you need to know in order to be fluent, and actually be fluent in 1 week. See. And also by being fluent, I mean avoiding what's happening to this lady, right? This panic mode, freezing mode. It's unlocking your left frontal lobe of your brain. Sí, bueno, muy bien. El plan para hoy es back to school. As I told you guys in the email, sí, es vocabulario esencial para el regreso a clases o a la escuela. Sí, so back to school, regreso a la escuela, yeah, regreso, that's the return or regress, right? When you do a regression, it's something that's coming back, right? Remember, comes from, in this case, from Latin ad, see? Which you can think it's like two or two words, right? You can think of the movie Ad Astra, right? I think I talked about the story of sitting at the movie theater and I see the beginning of the movie and it says it was a big text and it ends with to the stars, and then they highlight to the stars, and I look at my wife and I say Ad Astra, and then it appears Ad Astra, right? So think of that. That's to, see? So regreso a clases or to school, a la escuela. And if you check inside the Spanish Hacks course in the Más Spanish Hacks module, see, we talk about why we have to say to the school. See, so I'll let you guys do that. And of course, it's feminine because escuela is feminine. Escuela, which comes from Latin scola. See, we add an E when you have a word starting with an S followed by a consonant, right? And then, the other thing is the O. So a stressed O in Latin would often end up becoming we in Spanish. So that's where you have a word like dormo, will end up becoming duermo. There's a little bit more than that. It's really the way that we believe that people were supposed to pronounce that O with that accent mark in Latin. It's velar. How do I say that? Like in the back, you pronounce it from with the tongue in the back, right? So it would be like scola, right? And even by saying that, well, I did a little too hard. I sound like some alien, right? But end up becoming a escuela. And of course, I'm probably also not doing this perfectly well. Really, my focus on pronunciation is in Spanish, but that's how it happened with lots of words in Spanish. So that's why dormo is duermo, and puedo. I'm trying to do the ones that you can go just straight go from one to the other. See, but you guys are, if you guys have gone through the course in the quiero taco, I'm not gonna say the name, lesson, you get a lesson on all of that. See, it's basically deformations. See, so back to school. Regreso a la escuela. Like I said, check Más Spanish Hacks for the explanation for why we put the school in there. See, a la escuela. Bien, and then finally, questions and answers. Preguntas y respuestas. Which, if we run out of time, I'll leave you guys my email address and you guys can send me those, but hopefully we have some time to do it all. Sí, bien. Now, why do we say pregunta and not cuestión? Since question using hack number one would be cuestión, right? Well, a question exists as a matter, that would be cuestión. See, so in that case, yes, the hack works perfectly fine. However, for question, we use pregunta, which comes from Latin preguntare, which is like a pre-doubt. So if it's a type of question where it's not a matter that you're talking about, but a question you ask somebody, you're gonna think of that pre-doubting. Pregunta, ¿sí? Comes from preguntare. Muy bien, chicos. ¿Listos? Vamos a comenzar. Just because we have quite a bit of stuff to go over. Muy bien, vamos a comenzar con el regreso a clases, ¿sí? Un poco de vocabulario para el regreso a clases. The topics, I'm going to start with everything in English, see? We'll start with some class subjects, see? Some class topics. And what we have here is mathematics, we have science, history, language, physics, art, and music. And let's see how many hacks we can recognize here, ¿sí? So vamos a buscar algunos hacks. Bueno, bien, para comenzar, ik, you guys know that hack. See, if you remember from the course. ry, see, age, yeah. Then we have ik again. Art is going to be a little bit different. You just add an e in the end. I just spoil it. But then music again. So literally with just the hacks, we can, outside of art, which would be arte, we can get all of them, right? We have to obviously, as I often bring up, we have to take a look at some of the little tiny differences in spelling. But in this case, it's something a little different. So in this case, in English, that th, right, ends up being the sound. See, that fricative mess. See, it's not always the case, but a lot of the times what would happen is that th would just become a t, right? Like a word like I'm blanking a word. I'll think of a word in there. But there are many cases when these words that come from Latin that have the th end up being just a regular t. See, just a single t. So that's what's going to happen here. See, and then of course, ik, it's ico or ica. Since we're talking about the ciencias matemáticas, it's going to be matemáticas. See? Bien. So, and of course, remember to put an accent mark there. If you need a review with that, we're not going to cover it here because it's on Spanish Hacks for pronunciation, see? So just go inside the course and check that, see, for help with accent marks. Muy bien. Then science, of course, it's going to be incia, right? Like resistance, resistencia, and importance, importancia, see? So science, ciencia. But of course, we're also going to change in there the to the SC, right? I'd say science, even in English. I don't make a difference between the S and the C. See? So it's just going to stay as a C. So just ciencia. All right, so next up is history. You can see that I painted it pink and not blue. So it's not going to be historio, but it's going to be historia. See? Bien. And now language. You see that we have an A in English. If you remember the word for tongue, lengua comes from lingua, right? Well, and in Spanish, both of them are with an E. See, so there's one tiny thing that doesn't matter pronunciation, see, doesn't affect pronunciation, I should say. and that is that in the word language, it's not we don't spell it with a G but with a J. There actually had been movements throughout history of uh, 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 of writers really who wanted to get rid of the J for G with an E. They said, okay, if we have the J, which is always ha, he, ho, hu, that should be the only one, right? Either way, for some reason, some of them, some of them stay with a G and some of them stay with a J. So until the Royal Spanish Academy decides that something is changing, we're just gonna have to, look it up in the dictionary. But remember, with the hacks, the key is that this is meant to help you speak. So when you're speaking, it doesn't matter whether you can spell it or not. See? So bien, and the A is going to switch to E, like lengua, lenguaje. And actually, as I was talking about, see, lengua, because what matters is these are all words for language. So the word lenguaje talks about the concept, right? And I believe that I talk about this inside Spanish Hacks. If not, this is going to be on a separate module, see? But that is what we talk about when we talk about lenguaje. So it can be a sign language. It can be a coding language, see? And it deals more with the concept of communicating, and a language is a tool for that, right? And it may not be un idioma, right, which is the type of language that say we speak, right? So, and then when we talk about when we make reference to a system, all of the things that make up a language as idioma, see, which is a like Greek word that also became idiom in English, right? And an idiom is something that we know through verbal communication, right? But in that case, the word that we would use is lengua. Now, this is diving in really deep into something that really is only going to matter, practically speaking, um, when it comes to naming a course or finding out about a course or finding about the topic and you're studying it. See, so you're not going to use lengua outside of a subject for school. See, so just know that. But bien, so far we have matemática, ciencia, historia, lengua, and physics is not going to be plural, but singular. See? It's just going to be physic. And of course, as you know, the ph, which comes from Latin phi. See? In Spanish, yeah, we don't use the Greek way of using that F sound, but rather the Latin one. See, so you've already know from lots of other words, right? Like telephone, for example, right? Tele means at a distance, right? And phono means voice, right? So it's like voice at a distance. We use teléfono, we type it write it with an F. Other words like that. Any of the PHY, right? Like philosophy, filosofía, and calligraphy, calligrafía, right? We always switch the PH for an F. Likewise with the Y, remember we only have the Y as an I if it is at the end of the word, right? Like in the word hoy, the word for today, which remember it comes from ok, right? Ok diem. See, we're gonna change that for an I, and then the ik, right? As you know, is going to be Ica, right? Like it happened with Matemática. See, we have to add an accent mark there because of the type of word. Just check Spanish test for pronunciation. It's literally a 2-minute lesson, maybe, and teaches you all of that. See, then you have to, of course, like the course tells you, once you know it, now you have to practice it. But the nice thing about the Spanish course the Spanish test for pronunciation, of course, is that you keep practicing that over and over and over every time you read a word, right? And also, it has tests for you to practice, give some extra practice. See, so to those lessons and those characters that you may not see as often. See, yeah, as I mentioned with art, it's just going to be arte, and then music like matemática, Like física is just going to be música. Remember again, put the accent mark over the U, just like you did for matemática, for física. Now you do it for música, and check Spanish Chef for pronunciation if you need a refresher on why it needs an accent mark. See? Bueno, muy bien. Hopefully everybody's doing fine. We'll move on. Oh, of course, I forgot about topic, right? Like physics and music. See, topic is of course going to be in this case tópicos. It's a masculine word. Same thing. We have the accent mark. See, but when we talk about a subject, like a school subject, think of a subject being a synonym of a matter. See, and that's the word that we're going to use for school topics, for school subjects. See, we call them materias. So these are going to be not tópicos, but materias. We also use the word asignatura, like a signature. See, bien. So those are the school topics. Hopefully that comes in handy for coming back to school. And we're going to go over some verbs too. See, really quickly, verbos. We're going to have to study. We're going to have to practice, to write, to listen, to participate, to delegate, to read. See, so you see in here already we have to participate has verb hack number one. Delegate has same verb hack number one, and then a couple of these you're going to be able to recognize, right? So study is going to be estudiar. Remember, we put an E before an S followed by a consonant, right? So it's not estudiar, but estudiar. Fair enough. And a study, as in a noun, like the study of plants, it would be el estudio de las plantas, see? Or even if you talk about a study, right? That's as a noun. Also the same word for studio, like a recording studio. Un estudio de grabación, see? Gravation. That's what we call a recording studio. So, bien. That's going to be to study. See, remember, ST, S followed by a consonant. ST is an example of that. We had an E before it. See? Bien, to practice is going to be practicar. Remember to keep the, since it's with an A, right? It's going to be CA, is going to sound with a K sound, right? Ka, not with an S sound. See? Ka, like, of course, casa, right? Ka, ko, ku. Casa, comida, cuando are some examples of that. Just remember the right pronunciation for it. To study is practicar. To practice is practicar. And practice as a noun is práctica. See? Bien, to write, we're going to think of the verb to scribe. See? And another S followed by a consonant is going to be escribe. It's going to be escribir. See? Muy bien, you guys know that one. For to listen, we're going to think of the word in Spanish that became the verb to listen is auscultare. You can think of an auscultation, right? And look, I'm already doing that O there, right? That actually comes from Latin. See, that's a diphthong. And then what's going to happen is with that O, one of the ways it can get deformed, right? Remember, I don't know if you guys remember from Spanish class from pronunciation, right? I say cut this sound before you close your mouth, right? So if I'm doing oh, I'm going to get that, right? So my name is not going to be Diego, but Diego, right? If I'm doing this, it's the same as watering the plants. And instead of, closing am I closing it the right way? No. Instead of closing stopping the water, which would be like stopping the air, what I'm doing is I have my plants here and I'm doing this. And then the water's going to shoot up, right? And get grandma's clothes and newspaper all wet. We don't want to do that. We want to stop, right? We want to close the water, right? And then put the hose away. Same thing. Diego, see? We want to end that o instead of turning into an u. Now, that is something that you're probably familiar with because it's more common, right? But likewise, if I turn this o instead of turning it to u, I make it wider. I get this o. Yeah. So that's how that o from auscultare became escultare. Now, escultare, I often talk about how Brits pronounce the informally how they pronounce their T's. They pronounce them like CHs, right? So instead of saying two, they'll say chew. or instead of saying, what's the other one? Tuesday, right? They'll say Tuesday, right? So same thing happened with escuchare. The O became E, and then the tar became char. See? So auscultar, escuchar. See? Now the word auscultar still exists, and normally that's what happens with these fancier words, right? Like if you're talking about an auscultation, right? That's a bit of a fancier word. That's why that's auscultación. See? And auscultar, even though it means escuchar, it means escuchar con un estetoscopio, right? With a stethoscope. Listen to the heart, listen to your lungs, or whatever, right? That's an auscultation. See? So hopefully that comes in handy. Bien, so we have estudiar, practicar, escribir, escuchar. See? We were talking about that. The E always gets lost from Latin. See? So it just becomes ar. See? Remember that. And yes, I just talked about that, right? The O is an O. All we do is estirar la letra O. You stretch out the O and you get that E. See? Bien. To participate, of course, if you use hack number 1, 8 becomes ar. So to participate, participar, delegate, delegar. And finally, we have to read, which is leer, coming from Latin legere. See? And you can think of words like lecture and lesson, which ironically are very good for back to classes, right? Using the hacks, that's hack number 2 and hack number 1. Lectura would be lecture, right? Ur becomes ura, like structure becomes estructura, fracture becomes fractura, lecture is lectura, and lección is lesson, see? That's usually TION, like auscultation, auscultación, but delegation, delegación, participation, participación, see? But I talk about that one in the course as one of the little exceptions. There's not really an exception. You could call it leçon or something. You just have to know that it's one of the words that is hackable that way. See, because that's where it comes from. So, bien, estudiar, practicar, escribir, escuchar, participar, delegar, leer. And as always, if you guys have any more questions of any other things that you would like to cover, for me to cover for back to school, see, send me an email to diego@spanishhacks.life, and I'll reply with something and possibly put it in the group for everybody to be able to benefit from. See? Bien, chicos. Bueno, buen trabajo. Let's do some questions and answers. We have about 5 minutes left. Remember, pregunta is not cuestión, see? Cuestión is a question, but it's a matter, see? When it's a question that you ask, it's going to be una pregunta. It's like a pre-doubt, see? That would be cuestión. That's a matter. See, and then answer or response is going to be respuesta, see? So preguntas y respuestas. Let me know what you're studying these days, see? Hopefully it's inside Spanish Hacks for Conversation, see? Which helps you master all those words, not in under 60 days, but under 14 days, right? You get over 150 audio and video lessons, see? Practice exercises to test your knowledge, right? Because then after you learn it, you want to practice, practice, practice. You have review videos that help you understand what you did wrong and understand words better, right? You have me just looking at the camera and telling you about all of these things, see? Breaking down words and all of that. This just helps you. It's just like it's like part of the practice. See, so the hacks unlock words just like that, right? Oh, tion, that's 2,400 words. Ur is ura. What other ones that we have there? Participate, participar, right? With lots of little hacks, you can speak literally thousands of words, right? So you can achieve fluency with Spanish Hacks in just 7 days because of that. Because also those words are remember in your left frontal lobe, which is the one that you've used in your entire life to communicate, right? So since all of that information is there, you're going to be able to pull it up fast. You're going to see it all around you and know lots of Spanish words around you, and still can go over the few exceptions in the lessons for those exceptions. See, you're going to have real life video scenarios where you get to practice that stuff just as if you were in real life, right? And look at that, right? Again, the hacks are everywhere. Scenario, escenario, right? That's the RY hack, right? Which in this case, well, it stayed the same, right? Scenario, that comes from vulgar Latin. It's just you add an E before it, scenario. And then restaurant, restaurante, because nt becomes nte, right? distant becomes distante, and prudent becomes prudente, right? NT becomes NTE. That's another 1,300 words, I believe. You'll have the exact numbers for those in the course, right? But yes, you learn all of these thousands words of vocabulary. Then you have all of these scenarios to practice all this stuff. Put those into action, and then real life practice with me and with your fellow Spanish hacks classmates. See, fellow Spanish hackers in the Facebook group. See, you have the Facebook group. You get to practice in there, and of course, you have live lessons like this one we're having right now every single month for people inside Spanish hacks. You get all of that included with the course. See, so you earn fluency in a week. The entire program in 2 weeks, and in addition to that, then you still get to keep practicing with me. See, and we learn in there what you want to learn, right? So for the most part, I'll have topics. Of course, next month is going to be Halloween. This month was return to classes. See, we'll have stuff like that. But if you guys ever, as you know, if you want to suggest anything for me to cover in these lessons, you send me an email and I will cover that, right? You also have access to me with the Facebook group. You have access to me in the via email, right? So I really am making sure that you're constantly being supported. See, um, and yeah, we had class assistants in the past. We're going to have more people joining our staff. So no matter what, sometimes it'll take me, usually within the same day, I'm replying to all the emails. So it's going to stay like that, right? If it's going to be, I ask for 48 hours, but it's usually same day. But if I start, becoming too overwhelmed with those, we're going to go back to having people who answer those. See, at one point we stopped that. Let's see, and you're going to learn about the power of the hacks. See? Yeah, so everything that comes inside Spanish hacks. That's just at $15 a lesson. That is over $2,250 in value, over 150 training and practice videos from yours truly. You get full lifetime access to the forums and Facebook group. Put there like $10,000. I think that's invaluable, but yeah, you can price it out, whatever. You get live lessons every month with me. Those are worth at $100 a lesson. That's over $1,200 per year. See, in those lessons, you can ask me anything you want to make sure you're on the right track and fluent. See, then you get bonus, which is the full recordings and lifetime access to all previous live lessons. Over $2,000 in value. Say that's probably over right now over $4,000 in value, maybe if we count the amount of lessons that now are included there. So that's all going to be included. Then you get a bonus, a workbook, 85% fluent in 30 minutes. See, you can pay for shipping and handling, and you can get the physical copy, or if not, you'll get the digital version inside Spanish Hacks. Bonus course, Spanish Hacks for pronunciation. It's usually an upsell. You'll get it included because perfect pronunciation is a prerequisite for Spanish Hacks. That's where we deal with all the stuff that I was just talking about with the accent mark and with the O and the A and the E, and making sure you don't say Diego, and also making sure that more important than that, more important than sounding perfect is understanding how to pronounce every word. See, all of that is going to be included in the course. With this deal, you're going to get a seat for you for a desk. Muy bien. Hola, Nate. Nate just joined us. We're finishing up here with the everything that's included in this version of the course, and then you'll get some free private lessons with me, 2 tickets to our upcoming in-person event, Más Spanish Hacks, which has lots of added value after you finish the course, so you can continue always learning Spanish, and that's of course over $16,000 of value. Instead of getting that for that money, normally this would be $595, but for the month of September, for our fall promotion, you're going to get 2 private lessons with me, and you're gonna get 40% off. See, so all of that for just $357. See, so if you want to join, all you have to do is enter the code Otoño during checkout, and of course that's backed by our result guarantee. Yes, so you get 100% or your money back, and this is valid until Sunday. And we're going to move over to more questions. We have about 10 minutes left for more questions, and let's see, since Sanel opened his camera. Let's see if we have any questions. Hola, Nathaniel, ¿cómo estás?
Hi, ¿cómo estás?